All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to our June YouTube Live. Sorry, I had a few technical difficulties to start, but I think we are working now. So let me go ahead and check, make sure everything is looking good. Mute myself. So hopefully you guys can all see me. And if you're just joining for the first time, thank you very much for joining these YouTube Lives. I do them each and every single month, and I think I've been doing them for close to 2 years. So they're a lot of fun and a good opportunity for you guys to come in, ask them questions. Gabriel says, I wonder what crazy stuff you got for us today. And I definitely got some good stories, as you can tell. Actually, I don't know if you can tell, but I have the mic in a new position today. So let me know what you think about the audio and video. Hopefully everything is coming in loud and clear. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to go ahead and join, since I actually had some issues starting the original live chat link. So hopefully you guys all made it over, and it looks like everyone did. So I'm just going to leave the link one more time in that one, and we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll talk for about 45 minutes to an hour, talk about some of the latest breaking news, some app updates, and then of course open up the floor to questions, and I will be answering hopefully everything that you guys have for me. So let me just make sure here on my phone everything's looking good. Looks like we are live. So without further ado, let's get it started. And looks like we've got a good crew, 76 people watching right now, crystal clear. Tarina says, first time. Well, welcome, Tarina. And Sean says, Harry, finally get to see you. And yeah, I'm always around. You guys know I do my monthly YouTube lives, and then got a couple videos, and we've got lots of good contributors out there. So definitely appreciate all of that. I see some good questions already coming in, and I want to make sure that you guys all stay tuned to the end of the YouTube live, because today we're going to be giving out 3 copies. Actually, let's make it 5 copies, since I made everyone come over from the other YouTube live and I screwed that up. I feel bad. I'm sorry about that, but we'll give out 5 copies at the end of the YouTube live. So you will have to stick around, but I think usually we have pretty good retention rates, a lot better than Uber or Lyft. People want to stick around and get their questions answered. So I'm going to do my best to do that. Now, without further ado, let's get cracking and start chatting. If you guys are having any issues with the live stream, you can always refresh it. And if you're watching live right now, or on your phone or on the desktop computer, you can go ahead and view the chat in real time. And if you're watching after the fact, go ahead and just leave a comment, and I'll make sure I respond below. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, and definitely appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. That's always great. Brian says, you're dialed, great host, super 8K stream, beautiful. So thank you for that. And Steve says, it's an awesome book, everyone get it. I have to agree with that. I'm a little biased, but I do think we put a lot of work into the book, and I'll give away 5 copies. So Alex says, hi, Harry. I won your book last time with my suggestion to making passengers submit state-issued IDs. Thanks. So you guys can see. Thank you, Alex, for that. I do actually give away the books and don't just keep them for myself, but that's awesome to hear. And I know we gave away copies of Uberland last month, the book from Alex Rosenblatt, which is another great book. So if you want a copy of that, congrats to you too. So, obviously, there's been some pretty big stories in the past, really just a week or two, with Lyft making some significant updates to the app. You guys may have seen, to pricing. Basically, they cut rates on Lyft XL and Lyft Black Lux all across the country. And I was kind of surprised by this, just in general, that they would cut the rates with all of these issues with California AB5 going on. And then also, I was just surprised that they would cut it only 4 to 5% for, across the country. It just seems like they got a ton of bad press for that. And like, most people don't even drive Lyft XL, and the ones who do, probably don't get a ton of rides, because Lyft XL, I don't think, is super busy compared to Uber. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about these Lyft rate cuts. Basically, in the email that they sent to drivers, they called them an adjustment. But I don't know why they use that wording. Basically, it's a rate cut. I think you guys, if you've been watching our channel for a while by now, you probably know what these companies are up to. I'll leave a link to a video, a really good video that Jay did about the Lyft XL and Black Lux rate cuts that you guys can learn a little bit more about that. Jonathan says they're already public. Both companies are more brazen. So that's an interesting point, Jonathan. And I feel like we're definitely starting and gonna see some changes that, whether we realize it or not, because these companies are both now public. And I think it's clear that like they need to make money going into the future. We reviewed their S1s, which is their official filing with the SEC. And that's really what they talked about is, hey, we got to make money in the future somehow. And unfortunately for drivers, there's only two places they can get money from, right? They can charge the passengers more, or they can pay drivers less. So that's, unfortunately sometimes what you see with these rate cuts and their upfront pricing sort of shenanigans. So we'll see what happens, but definitely not a good thing. I mean, not really any way to sugarcoat it. So Jaron says, why is Lyft only doing the new get paid as soon as you accept the ride, like only in Hawaii? So Jaron is referring to the other big Lyft update that happened. Oh, and I should also, real quickly, I also want to say Lyft did roll out a feature, I think in every market, that allows XL drivers to now select XL only. So with Uber, for example, you can always select, hey, I just want Uber XL rides and I just want Uber, or I just want Uber X rides, or both. Lyft, like 5 years later, finally added that feature. So it was strange that they didn't at least combine the two to sort of soften the blow of rate cuts. But, that's Lyft. We'll see. John says they're both publicly losing money. They must raise the rates. And I agree. But the other thing, that they can do, John, is basically pay drivers less, right? That's if Lyft and Uber need to make more money, they can raise rates on passengers, or they can pay drivers less. And I think a lot of the like Lyft PPZ, the personal power zones, and Uber's new surge, and frankly, a lot of these features, I'm worried that they are going to pay drivers less. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it. And that kind of brings me to Lyft's other update, which I saw a couple people talking about this, and I don't know if everyone fully understands this new update from Lyft. Basically, what it is what I call period 2 pay, or what they call period 2 pay. So now with Lyft, they're piloting it in 6 markets: Seattle, Honolulu, Boise, and a few others. Usually, I mean, really pretty much smaller markets is where they're piloting it. I don't know why I can't say that word, piloting. They're piloting the program of P2 pay in smaller markets. And really what it does, it kind of addresses a lot of complaints that drivers have with Lyft. Hey, I'm getting 15, 20, 25-minute requests from Lyft, and I don't get paid to go pick that person up and then do a minimum fare, or they cancel when I'm en route. And so Lyft is trying to recognize that and pay drivers. So from the moment you accept in these test cities now, Lyft is actually going to pay you as soon as you accept, and they're also going to pay you to do the ride, which sounds great on the surface, right? But unfortunately, as you might have guessed, they're actually going to pay drivers less overall. And I mean, frankly, the mileage rate in these cities we looked at is coming down by 50%. The time rate is going to go up, actually. So they're sort of rebalancing the rates, but also paying you. And so this is a long way of saying that basically they're going to pay you from the moment you accept, but I think they're saying it's going to be the same amount overall. So I don't know if I necessarily see this as a good thing for drivers. I mean, when was the last time Uber and Lyft changed rates and it benefited you? With Uber's new surge, Lyft, PPZ, all of these different programs. Like, I think that they benefit Lyft a lot and Uber a lot more than the drivers. So I'm curious to know what you guys think of this Lyft P2 pay, period 2 pay program, and getting paid from the moment you accept. I just left a link in the live chat to a video that Jay did, where he really broke this down and sort of broke down why this might be a good thing for Lyft and not so much for drivers. So curious to get your take on that. John says, Lyft does not have the volume passengers of Uber. I drove Lyft for 1 week only. The requests were too far away. I only recently signed up back up for Lyft strictly for the destination filter. So, the one thing I will say is that I think in the markets where, John, you're having this issue where Lyft is sending you like 10, 15, 20-minute requests from Lyft, this is actually a good thing for drivers in those markets, because now you're going to get paid to do that, right? Whereas in a market that's busier like LA or San Francisco, drivers shouldn't even be accepting anything beyond 10 minutes. And I think Jay said this in his video, right? In a busy city, you never want to drive more than probably 10 minutes as the cutoff. And if it's busy, maybe even less. So that's something to keep in mind, because remember, you guys don't get paid for these miles usually, but with Lyft's new program, you will. So definitely something we'll keep an eye on. Dustin is driving, is in the house. He says, the man, the myth, the rideshare rock star. What's going on, Harry? Thank you for joining, Dustin. Always appreciate seeing you on here. And also give a quick shout out to Dustin because we recently interviewed Dustin all about how he started his YouTube channel, what he thinks about pretty much everything. It was a really nice, long, and fun interview. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely check out Dustin is Driving's channel, and I'll leave a link to my interview with Dustin so you can learn more about that. Christopher says about the Lyft P2 pay, it will result in customers with faraway pickups getting picked up faster. Yeah, I think it helps Lyft a lot. I think it helps customers a lot, right? Because in the past, if you're requesting out in the boonies, probably drivers canceled on you a lot, and it probably wasn't a great experience. So someone's going to have to pay for this. Lyft isn't really covering that, but that cost is probably going to be shared for everyone. So John says that's a positive ghostwriter, great content. I agree. Dustin says everyone thumbs up the stream. Guys, yeah, I definitely appreciate it. If you guys give this stream a thumbs up, leave a comment once it's done, and share this with your friends. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. That just helps us reach more people and may even inspire me to go live more often, since Dustin tells me he wants to see me live more often. Ice Poseidon says, why do you pretend to drive for Uber and Lyft? I don't think I pretend to drive for Uber and Lyft. I think it's pretty clear if you guys follow my stuff that my full-time job at this point is running the blog, running the YouTube channel, running course, book, everything like that. We've got a whole network of contributors. You've probably seen on the YouTube channel, Jay, Cecily on Saturdays, Joe, and we're, taking guest posts or guest videos from people like Dustin, basically all drivers. I like providing different viewpoints from different drivers all over, really the world, all over the country doing delivery. So that would be my answer to that. If you like the content, great, keep watching. If not, don't. Let's see. DE says, I've seen that video. It does not make any sense. Looks good up front, but once you break it down and see how we drivers get screwed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess in general, like I always have a little bit of skepticism with these programs, especially when it comes to when they're messing with pay. Like if you guys look back, like how often are they changing pay for the better for drivers, unfortunately? So those are the two big updates on Lyft. I know the other news in the world that's been covered pretty intensely is the AB5. So if you guys have questions about that, I'll definitely answer questions there. But we kind of have a bunch of videos and articles. I'll leave a link to the article I wrote that I spent a lot of time researching about AB5. So if you guys have any questions about AB5 and really what it might mean for drivers, Uber says all this crap, these labor unions, they have their agenda. But I think I wrote and researched an article really just kind of giving you the facts and let you make your own decision. So yeah, let's see what we got. All right, we got plenty of time. I also see Dave, the Uber slave, on here. So appreciate you joining, Dave. I don't know if you caught our review of the camera that you recommended. What do they call it? The DC. Gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now. But what is that camera we just reviewed that you recommended? The Blackview dash cam. So if you guys are interested in that, I think we're going to pick the winners of that giveaway tomorrow or the day after. And it's pretty cool because the company sent us, I think, 4 or 5 cameras. So we're giving away like $1,500 worth of dash cams. So if you guys haven't entered that contest, these are really expensive dash cams. I don't know, Dave, the Uber slave, must make a lot more money than me because I can't afford that camera. But definitely recommend you guys check out that video because you can actually enter really easily to enter for a chance to win. So Dave says, fake Ice Poseidon, a lot of nerve asking a question like that. Well, I think that, everyone is entitled to ask what they want. That's why I'm here, talking to you guys live. I want the tough questions. So if you've got tough questions, bring them. I'm ready. Stefan says, hey, Harry, the petition that Uber wants us to sign, should we or should we not sign it? So this is a great question. And, what I'll say is what I'm personally doing, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, I never tell people I don't like telling telling people what they should or shouldn't do. I'll tell you what I'm personally doing and why, but I like providing the information, the experience, talking to the people who know what they're doing, sharing the viewpoints, and then letting you guys make an informed decision. So me personally, I didn't sign Uber or Lyft's petition, and it's because I don't think that they have drivers' best interests at heart, right? Like I personally, I think that in general, like independent contractors is, it's better for drivers to be independent contractors than employees. But I mean, right now, we're not really independent contractors. Uber tells you when and where to drive. They've got Quest bonuses that they've lowered rates over the past 5 years. And then they use Quest bonuses to tell you when and where to drive. They don't tell you where the riders are going ahead of time. So I think independent contractor would be great if we're actual independent contractors. So it's just hard for me to, okay, now Uber and Lyft wants our support. So personally, I did not sign the petition, but what I have been telling drivers is that you should definitely be reaching out to the lawmakers. You can find Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. She's very active on Twitter. In my article, I left a link to her Twitter, and then you can also send them a message. I reached out to their office, asked them a bunch of questions about this, and they say they're reading all the emails that they're getting from drivers. So I think that that's one thing that you can do. So Christopher has a good comment here. He says, we will lose our freedom of not having a schedule. And I agree with that. But if you think about it, drivers are sort of already losing their freedom of scheduling. I mean, you can technically log on whenever and wherever you want, but I think all of these moves that Uber and Lyft are making are trying to make it more like you're an employee, but they want to pay you like an independent contractor. So if you guys really study a lot of this stuff, you've probably noticed it. It's like, hey, Uber does control a lot of these things. I think the independent contractor setup would be best, but when you give Uber and Lyft free reign, they're just not doing that. John says, where is Lorena from? California. Yeah, she's from San Diego. And actually, I did work with her a long time ago on a different bill that was going to give independent contractors the right to collectively bargain. So that was kind of interesting turn of events that I actually had worked with her a few years ago, all the way back in 2016. So I know her pretty well. I'm going to leave a link to the article I wrote about that. Tabitha says, there are too many drivers in my area for everything. I feel like I'm breaking even. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think like kind of afterpay driver, not congestion, but basically driver saturation is a big issue. John says, very cool. I'll send an email. Dustin says, yeah, and now in New York, it seems like drivers won't be able to go online when they want to unless there is demand. So I'm glad you brought that up, Dustin, because he's referring to this story. Let me see if I can quickly, I know we mentioned it. Well, I've got an article coming out tomorrow that mentions this new Lyft sort of not rule, but basically policy that they're doing in New York. So New York instituted this minimum wage, right? So now on every trip, it's a minimum pay. So it's not a minimum wage, but it's more of a minimum pay per trip. And it's working well. Drivers are making $2 more per trip since they instituted these regulations in New York City. But Lyft is now saying, okay, if we have to pay our drivers more, we're not going to just let you go online anywhere and everywhere, which is, kind of shady. But I mean, it also makes sense, right? Like in the past, if you were a driver and you didn't know what you were doing and you went online way out in the middle of nowhere where you weren't going to get any rides, that's sort of your fault and that's on you. And now Lyft is saying, hey, we don't want you to do that. So you are losing some flexibility. And so that's sort of where I wouldn't say I agree with Uber and Lyft, but I mean, there's no doubt if you guys have ever worked for an employee, there's no employer that I've ever worked for that is anywhere near the flexibility of driving for Uber and Lyft. For all its problems, even if you are working full time, you do have the ability to call in sick, take a day off, and if you are working 14 hours a day, that sucks, but you do have the ability to take it off and make it up the next day. So we'll see what happens there. But Dave says Uber's trying to trick us into signing without giving all the details. And, honestly, that's my other big problem with these petitions from Uber and Lyft. If you read the actual text, they're saying that, this bill will cause you to lose all your flexibility, this and that. And I read the bill. I recommend actually that you guys go and read this bill. I know no one will actually do it, but I read it. It's short. It only took 5 or 10 minutes. And there's a helpful analysis that you can also read that explains more in detail. And basically, there's nothing in the bill about losing flexibility. So I agree, with Uber and Lyft there, but I mean, they do have the power to make things more rigid. And, there's a lot of unknowns with the employee sort of independent contractor thing. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions about that, feel free to ask. Sean says, Uber and Lyft want to have the best of both worlds. And I think that sums it up perfectly. When it comes to this employee AB5 issue, Uber and Lyft really want to pay drivers like independent contractors, but treat them like employees. So I think knowing that, you should sort of make your decision from there, whether you want to support it or not. Roy says, thank you for the info on the attorney for rideshare drivers. Yeah, and that's actually a great reminder that we work with a rideshare lawyer, or we've got a really good article is how to handle insurance. If you get into an accident with Uber or Lyft, I really recommend that you guys save this article. And we're actually now giving away a free checklist postcard. So if you go to this article that I just shared in the live chat, you can actually download or you can get sent to you a free postcard or download it. These lawyers that we work with at Legal Rideshare will actually send it to you for free. And I can't tell you how many drivers email me after they get into an accident, after they've left the scene and they didn't get a police report. They basically didn't do any of the stuff that we recommend. So sounds like Roy was able to take advantage of that. So I definitely recommend you guys take a look at that and save it. Michael says the bill won't dictate the implementation, and he's referring to AB5, but Uber and Lyft will change things. That, and if you don't think they know who signed the petition, they will consider that. So that's a good point too, Michael, is that the bill doesn't say Uber and Lyft have to put you on a schedule. But I mean, also realistically, like, how many employers have you ever worked for that let you log on and log off whenever, call in sick? Like, if you were my employee and you did that, I would fire you. You're a terrible employee. So I think that, it wouldn't be as flexible, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's going to be as bad as Uber and Lyft say it is. So we'll see what happens. But Jonathan says they didn't realize that California has been trying to deal with 1099 for decades. So this is very interesting. Fernando says, ever since Dara has come into Uber, it seems like things have gotten worse. So I definitely, that's interesting. I haven't really thought, I know when Dara, the new Uber CEO took over, he came in talking a big game and I met him, and he was saying, we're going to do this for drivers, we're going to do that. And, I haven't really thought about it lately, but I do kind of agree. It does seem like Uber talks a lot. And really, I think more than anything, I feel like I've noticed lately is whenever Uber gets busted for something like, the safety issue in the news, then they go out and fix things. If they get busted for stuff, it seems like that's when they go out and make changes. With this AB5 thing, it's like, hey, we've been kind of doing all this stuff behind the scenes and now we're like kind of screwed and now we need drivers help, right? And I don't know, I would not personally never treat someone like that, especially the workers or the people that were working for me or with me, but it kind of is not a great feeling. So hopefully that will change. Dustin says 148 watching, 35 thumbs up. Come on, I think we got 30. That is a good point. We got over 150 people watching live and only 36 thumbs up. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, give a thumbs up. If not, then feel free to let me know in the live chat why, and hopefully I can answer some questions that you might have. Rideshare 411. Here in Los Angeles, Lyft is telling us how long the trips are before you accept them. So I think you're referring to if you maintain a 90% acceptance rate or higher, they give you some info about the trip. Like that, I know Uber, I think, gives you direction and length, and then Lyft is giving you some of that info. But you do have to maintain a 90% acceptance rate. Charles Black comes in with the first super chat of $1. Actually, I think someone else super chatted. Sorry, I think I forgot to give you a little shout out. Who else super chatted? Let me scroll up here and see. John Bauer, 225. Oh, sorry, John. I completely missed your super chat, but I appreciate the super chat. John Bauer asks, does the fair car rental work for SLO? So San Luis Obispo in California, 150 plus miles away. Yes. So in California right now, I think Fair has a really good program for drivers. Now, they did just make it tougher. It used to be, the trip threshold to get the weekly rental of $185 back. They did make it tougher to go ahead and get that. But in California right now, I think the program is far and away the best if you need a car, or frankly, if you're just tired of putting miles on your car, basically they'll give you your first week free, and then you can hit those tiered bonuses, right? I think now you have to do like 90 trips or something like that, or say 85 trips, and then you get they'll cover the $185 weekly fee. So if you guys want to sign up with Fare or need a car, I'll leave a link in the show notes. Outside of California, they have a different program with slightly different terms, but you can also check that out. John says, is it 90 rides? Well, let me pull up. They just updated it, so I'll have to double check for you, John, but they basically just updated the terms last week. And frankly, I think it was Uber who updated the terms, but a lot of drivers were pissed because they basically did it without telling anyone. And I think that they really need to do a better job. So it was 70 trips and you would get the $185 weekly fee. And I believe it's now 85 trips. So I'll double check that for you, but we can update that. So David says, you already got my thumbs up. Thank you for that. Hazel says, hi, everyone. Looks like Hazel is just joining. It looks like we got our first little spammer. So let me remove them. That was easy. Michael, $5 super chat. Awesome. Appreciate that. Let me know if you have any questions. And I saw we also had a part-timer came in with the 99-cent super chat. So I appreciate that. Jonathan says 90% acceptance rate weekly, even if you're qualified for Diamond for 90 days. So yeah. Uber also is giving you this info in their Uber as part of their Uber Pro program. Hazel says, remember, this affects all 1099 workers, not just rideshare, such as strippers too, and not trying to be funny. And that's a good point. I think that this AB5, conundrum or whatever you want to call it, it's a lot of focus is on Uber and Lyft drivers, but there are a whole bunch of other industries that could potentially be affected by this. So we'll see what happens. Let me adjust this here real quick. We'll see what happens there. And let's see, any other questions? Oh, Alexa La Columbia says, what is Diamond? So that is referring to the Uber Pro program. So I'll leave a link to an article we did on Uber Pro, but this is basically Uber's rewards program that used to be, I think, a little bit better, but they recently cut the 3 and 6% extra bonuses that they used to give. So yeah. Hazel says, you have to switch screens to give thumbs up, LOL. Oh, do you? I didn't know that. I guess I've never actually watched myself live. So if you guys don't mind switching screens. Dustin says, keep those super chats coming. That's right. I like it. I appreciate all the super chats. Troy with the $1.99, Charles with $1. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Dustin says $5. Who can beat that there? Anthony says Fare changed it overnight. And yeah, I agree with you. This is one thing. We're an affiliate for Fare. So we sign up, when drivers use our links or our code to sign up for Fare, we get paid. That's one of the ways we make money. And as soon as I saw this happen, I emailed Fare and I said, man, you guys really need to not do this. And it sounded like this was actually the bonus on Uber's end. So Uber controls those bonuses and they just basically kind of like pulled a normal Uber and without any notice, switched the bonuses overnight, didn't tell any drivers, and frankly, a lot of people were pissed. So I think that hopefully that's, I don't know, hopefully they'll figure that out. Tabitha says, in regards to AB5, would things like DoorDash, Instacart, Uber Eats be affected? And yes, they would. So the AB5 could affect all gig jobs and even other industries, like Hazel mentioned, strippers. And, there's some exceptions, but basically anyone doing this kind of gig or 1099 or really independent contractor work, period, could be affected. So big potential implications for sure. Let's see. Steve says, do you think most drivers want employee status? Well, I guess I'll pose this question to the audience right now. I think I know the answer, but you guys let me know right now in the live chat if you want to be employees or independent contractors. But I found that most drivers actually want to be independent contractors. And I think that makes sense because most drivers are doing this part-time. Most drivers are doing anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week. And so they're not as reliant on it as a full-time driver. Someone doing 40, 50 hours a week right now for Uber Uber and Lyft, that's a tough gig. I really empathize with someone doing that because it's a tough job and they're basically already working like employees, but without any of the benefits, without any of the sick pay and unemployment and hazard and all of that stuff. So typically, like we surveyed over 1,100 drivers last year in our annual survey, and about 80% of drivers said that they wanted to be independent contractor. And I think the big caveat there, though, is drivers actually want to be independent contractors. Right now, they want to be kind of true independent contractors. Right now, we're technically independent contractors, but as you've probably noticed, Uber and Lyft control a whole lot of the experience. So Fridge Guy Zero says, Dustin needs to be a moderator. You know what? I agree. I think I'm going to add you, Dustin, as a moderator right now. If you accept, great. If not, well, oh well. 1998 Blue Dog says, we are where we are because of Uber's stupidity and or greed. Take your choice. Now they want you to sign their petition and help them out. Don't sign. And I kind of agree with you. I think on some points I agree with Uber and Lyft on this, but I don't know. I don't want my name on some petition that's kind of supporting them and having their back when I don't feel that they've had my back or other drivers' backs. So that's my point of view. Part-timer says, do you think Uber will hire drivers through a temp agency? I think I think you're talking about if they were to become employees, I think anything is on the table. Yeah, that could happen. So we did a big series on Ease, and that's actually how Ease works. So Ease hires employees as their drivers, and they actually don't hire drivers directly. They do it all through staffing agencies. So if you guys are curious what it's like, we actually have an article coming out tomorrow on the Rideshare Guy that's kind of what life would be like as an employee. So I definitely recommend you stay tuned to that and subscribe to our email list if you aren't already. You can go to the rideshareguy.com/email. I'll leave a link to that right now in the live chat. Jonathan says, asking about Uber Pro. Harry, do you know anyone who's taking the university classes? So one of the benefits of Uber Pro is that they offer online education, college classes, basically through Arizona State University. And I heard from some drivers, very small number of drivers, that this was awesome. This was a really cool benefit. But I haven't heard from a lot of drivers who are directly taking advantage of that. So I think it's kind of like one of those cool or nice things, but I don't know how many people are taking advantage of that, to be frank. So Dustin says, if you want to stay an independent contractor, I suggest you like the stream. Harry, back drivers not signing the petition. Okay, I agree with that. And then Kirk says they already advertise on temp agencies. They do, but you would still work for Uber. So with Ease, for example, you actually don't work for Ease if you're delivering marijuana for Ease. You work through a staffing agency. So it's a little different. Fernando says, oh, hell yeah, here comes Smackoviches for misbehavior. And Dustin says, like the stream or be Smackovich. All right, thank you, Dustin. I'll send you your cut of the super chat after we get off. And it looks like, we've got Sergio joining, who's one of our newest contributors over on the rideshareguy.com. And thanks for joining, Sergio. Always appreciate seeing you. He says, strippers get a lot more in tips than Uber drivers. And you know what? I think most of strippers' pay is tips. So I think if you're comparing strippers and Uber drivers and it comes to tips, strippers are definitely going to win that. So Scott says, most of us already have our degrees, pretty worthless Uber Pro benefit. And that's actually a good point. Scott, one thing I've found is that, when we did survey a lot of drivers, there was like a majority of drivers have college degrees. A lot of them have, or not a lot, but some even have master degrees. So I guess I will say drivers as a whole, you guys watching are very well educated, and hopefully my audience is, even more so. So that's interesting. Tabitha says, in my area, we have DoorDash and Bite Squad. DoorDash is way more lax on something like a uniform, so it appeals to more people. If we are employees, they could require us to wear uniforms and more. So DoorDash hires independent contractors, so they can't technically tell you or force you to wear a uniform. But you're right. If you did drive for one of these companies in the future and you were an employee, then they could force you to wear a uniform. I think that's makes sense, right? That's like what employees have to do. You can't go work at McDonald's and wear street clothes, right? So that's how that might work. Let's see. But Bite Squad is interesting. I haven't really looked into Bite Squad, but I've been hearing about Bite Squad from drivers. I think they're primarily in California right now, but if you guys do have Bite Squad, it's BITESQUAD available. This is definitely an app you might want to check out. I've heard good things, and they're relatively new too, which usually means they're paying better and have bonuses and stuff like that. So Dave, the Uber slave, says they want to be independent contractors, but will be employees in order to solve our pay issue. And Fry Guy Zero says Dave's in the house. He needs to be a moderator too. Hey, I'm good with that, Dave. If you want to be a moderator, you just give me a little thumbs up right now, and I will make you a moderator right now. So let me know, or maybe even Dustin can make you one. So Andrew says DoorDash now pays more per mile on average than Uber and Lyft. And I don't know. I'd have to see the numbers on that one, Andrew. I don't know if, I mean, I guess technically, since you're not driving as far, most of the delivery requests are a lot shorter distances. You may make more per mile in that respect. But I think on an hourly wage, you can make more with rideshare over delivery. Ronald comes in with the super chat of $2. I definitely appreciate that, Ronald. That's awesome. And Jonathan has a good question. He says, Harry and Dustin, isn't it more like continuing education, which is potentially very valuable to learn to code and then potentially make $100,000? Yeah. So in referring to this ASU program. So, I mean, every person is different, right? If you're content driving and this is what you want to do, then keep doing it, right? But if you're someone who kind of, Jay talks about this a lot in his videos, like he has a plan B. He works for me. He works online doing coaching and traveling and writing and doing all these other tasks. And so that's his plan B. And so I guess what I would say is if this is a job that you don't want to do indefinitely, you're looking for other things, then something like this ASU online education program could be something for you. Because yes, like a coding job, for example, like using the ASU education to go get a coding job is going to be a lot more stable, have a lot better benefits, and solve a lot of the issues that you might have. But also at the same time, it's going to be like a ton of work, right? So Renee says, I am driving for Uber to pay for college. Sean says, I have two completely useless bachelor degrees. Well, I have an engineering degree and I don't use it anymore either. Right now, I guess technically I'm a blogger. So I kind of do the exact opposite of what I used to. Ronald's just comes in with a super chat of $2. Appreciate that. Kirk says the middle agent in DoorDash enforces the shirt they ask you to wear by not allowing you to pick up deliveries if you don't at Chick-fil-A. Interesting. So if that is happening, that sounds like something that a lawyer would love to look at, because that they definitely can't do. And Rich says, Harry, looking at the vital stats, it is my experience it is not worth it to maintain Uber Pro status, but pursue the surge only strategy. So Sergio, people are now, if you're still on, people are talking about your strategy right now of basically driving surge only. And we did a really good podcast with Sergio. I'm going to leave a link to right now in the show notes. And Sergio has recently come on as a contributor on the rideshareguy.com. So I really appreciate all of his hard work. But basically what his strategy is to say, hey, you know what? Forget about all this acceptance rate crap and all this other rules and games. I'm just going to drive when it's surging. I'm going to kind of try to take advantage of when things are busy, know the patterns of the city that I drive in. He's in Los Angeles, so there's definitely more surge on average. But I really highly recommend you guys go and listen, because I agree with you, Rich. I think that you can make more kind of doing a surge only strategy, or really driving the most lucrative times versus playing the games that Uber and Lyft try to get you to do. And I think that Sergio's numbers show that. I mean, I met this guy in person, and even after the rate cuts in LA, he's still making over $30 an hour. At least that's what he told me last time I saw him in person. And I have other drivers in LA that are telling me, hey, I'm struggling to make a minimum wage. So you guys can really see that, not everyone's schedule is a little different, but if you are very determined, you can definitely out earn other drivers by 2 or 3 times in my experience. So hopefully our tips will help make all of that happen. Let's see. Rideshare Confessions, good to see you. Looks like you guys, Sergio is still here. Awesome. And Scott says, I do both. I do surge strategy first and then Uber Pro points. So I agree with that. Christopher says, $20 super chat if you want to see Harry dance. I think I would agree to that. If someone super chats $20, I'll do a little dancing. I don't know if you guys, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if you guys want to see that. I have absolutely no rhythm, but I think that's worth $20. Let's see. Do, 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 do. I don't know if we have any other questions. James says, I have a job interview tomorrow. Steel City driver. Looks like you've just joined. Thanks for joining. I'm pretty sure you've been on before. And looks like we got a bunch of people still joining. So awesome to everyone for joining. We've actually already been going for almost 45 minutes. So if you guys have any last questions, feel free to ask them now. In about 10 minutes, I'll go ahead and I'm going to give away 5 copies of my book tonight. So stick around for another 10 minutes or so, and you will have an opportunity to win a copy of my book, which is kind of cool. We've got 150 people watching live right now. So thank you for that. And 84. Oh crap! Someone just super chatted 1999. So I guess I have to dance. All right. I don't know, no music going, but I'm kind of feeling the beat. I don't know if that works, but I appreciate that. And Christopher says it's a penny short. You know what? I round it up. I'm not like Uber. I give you guys the benefit of the doubt. Harry must dance to the book. All right, there we go. Dance to the book. Nice. Let's see, what other questions? Hopefully that satisfied you, William. If not, you let me know, and hopefully I can do something else to satisfy you. That was really embarrassing, but hopefully you guys got a kick out of that. And at least, yeah, seriously, Dustin says white guy dance. That was a white guy dancing right there. Really embarrassing. Someone's probably going to make a clip of that and hold it hostage against me in the future. Kev says, what's up, Harry? Awesome. Challenge accepted. So I saw a good question come in here from Pablo. Pablo says, will they ever start paying miles and minutes from the moment you accept a ride? That would be a more rational alternative to surge pricing. So you may have missed, Pablo, when I discussed earlier, but you could rewind back to the beginning. One of the first stories I talked about is Lyft is actually piloting this very feature, and it's called period 2 pay. So from the moment you accept, you can now get paid in 5 or 6 test markets, but they lowered rates overall to kind of make up for that extra pay. So we'll see if that ends up being a good thing. Cell makes, Jonathan comes in with a $2 super chat. I appreciate that. I'm like, one of those politicians with all the small time donors, right? Everyone just keeps going to add up and add up. So I appreciate that. Cellmake says, my wife was deactivated from Uber for no apparent reason. I tried Uber support already. What can she do? Have you heard of anybody suing Uber in small claims court to get a reason for deactivation? So basically, I don't know I'm assuming Uber told your wife there was some reason, but I can't imagine what it would have been. As long as, if you fall below 4.6, there's not much you can do about that. But if it was like a passenger said something or some weird issue, the first thing you should do is just don't even try to call in, or you can try to call in or send them an email, but usually that doesn't work. But for the complex issues like this, you always want to go in person. You want to go to Uber's offices and you want to figure out what the deal is, what's going on, talk to an actual employee who actually knows what's going on and get the story there. And then you can kind of make your decision there. If you feel that you are actually wrongfully deactivated, we have a firm that we work with that actually helps with this very topic. So I'm going to go ahead and get their contact info for you right now. They're called Francis and Mailman. So they're a law firm that actually helps drivers who have been unfairly deactivated. So I definitely recommend that you guys reach out to them. So Cellmake, for example, I would definitely reach out to them. I know they've already helped 1 or 2 of our readers get reactivated back onto the platform. So basically, they sued the shit out of Uber and Lyft and made them a bunch of money. So if you were wrongfully deactivated, that's a really good resource for you guys to take advantage of. And John says, whoa, $20 and no Macarena. All right, so how does the Macarena go? What does it go like this? Macarena, hey Macarena. All right, so I'm still making it up, right? I feel like I don't know. I don't think you guys got your money's worth for that $20, but Hopefully that helps. Sam says, I may have missed it, but how do you feel about the new Lyft get paid when you hit accept? Yes, Sam, you did miss it, but you can rewind to the beginning. It was right at the beginning of the YouTube live. I did about 4 or 5 minutes about what I thought there. And V Bell says, hey, my man, I was looking forward to getting the last book, I think Uberland, but I would love to get yours. If not, LOL. So you know what? I think actually, V, we've got an extra copy of Uberland. So V, if you want to shoot me an email, harry@therideshareguide.com, subject line Uberland, I'll get you a copy of that. Jeff says, what's the latest on Tryp? Good old Tryp. So I would love to hear from you guys what you think about Tryp. Now, we never did a video about Tryp, but we did do an article kind of because I didn't want to give them a ton more publicity and press. But long story short with Tryp is I saw a ton of red flags from the get-go. I was getting like spammed left and right by all of their influencers and all these random people like sign up with this and use my code, and just had a lot of red flags for me. I've been around for a while. I've interviewed a lot of company or like actual CEOs of people who have started rideshare companies, and none of them behave like that. So I guess what I would say is like I kind of know who's legit and who's not. I think I have a good, bullshit detector for that. So I haven't seen much from Tryp. It does, like Papa Bear says, Tryp is still stalling, and I think that I kind of agree. It seems like I actually want like more apps to succeed. We're kind of complaining about all these issues with Uber and Lyft, but like I want apps like Tryp to work and succeed. I want there's some like in New York called InDriver and another in California called Zero. There's a lot of apps coming, but some of them are legit, or at least in my eyes right now, and others don't look so legit. I mean, I'm happy to reassess them and change my opinion, but I haven't seen anything from Tryp that would make me change my opinion yet. So I'll keep an eye on it though, for sure. Kev says, we need some more likes for Harry to hit 100. Christopher says, 8 more likes. Do it. Yeah, we're at 92 likes. So if you haven't liked this video yet, at least get me up to 100. Then I'll stop complaining about it. And Dustin just super chatted $21. Wow. I guess I got to dance again. So I'll go like this, go maybe a little under the table. All right. So these dances, I don't know if I'm going to do this again because this is getting really embarrassing. So hopefully you enjoyed that, Dustin. Papa Bear says the Tryp app does nothing. Juan says, did they ever fix Maestro with Lyft? So this is an issue I talked about on my last month's YouTube live. Is Lyft is actually blocking Maestro. So I don't know what's going on with Lyft over there these days. They're asking for driver's help on AB5, but they're cutting rates on Lyft XL and Black Lux, and they're introducing this new pay structure, which I think is not going to work out that well for drivers. And they're also blocking Maestro from using the Lyft driver app. So that's a big issue. I know a couple of reporters I've been talking to are potentially going to cover that, and we'll have an article out about that soon. But that's kind of the update there. And Charles says, tell us your craziest rideshare story. You know what? I think I actually talk about my craziest rideshare story in my book, but I'll give you a little preview. The short version is I was driving in Newport Beach, like one of the first weeks I was ever driving, like 5 years ago. And I had, I'll give you guys the PG story. I don't think I put the R-rated version, or the PG version is in my book. So if you guys want to read that, you can buy the book. But I'll give you the R-rated version right now. Is basically I had 2 young girls. Let's just say they were making out in the back of my car on the way when I was driving them home. And things escalated quickly. So I think I'm going to keep this at that. I think you guys can probably imagine where things went from there. Yeah, you guys are really coming through with the super chats. This is awesome. Steve with the $5, Pablo with another $1, Ronnie with $2. Really appreciate all of that. And David says, I'll tell you why I just got a second job with getting paid $21 an hour plus mileage. Sergio says, this is more money. The super chats are more money down the drain. What's wrong with you people? The next 20, Harry's going to take his shorts off. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing that. I don't even know if you could sign it. And then let's see, what other questions do we have? Christopher says, I really like this question, Christopher. He says, How do you motivate yourself to go to work without a boss or a schedule? Well, one thing that I've found, that I've kind of learned from driving and then now working for myself full time, running the business is it's funny because you kind of like these jobs because you can work whenever and wherever you want. But what I found in order to be the most successful is you do sort of want to have some type of routine. Now, that routine can fit your schedule. So, for example, like I don't like working on Mondays. So Monday morning, I take it easy. I go work out. I, like go grab lunch, hang out with my son, and then maybe I'll do a little work of it in the afternoon on Mondays. So, it's sort of like everyone complains about Mondays. So one of the things I wanted to do as someone who's working for themselves, I wanted to turn Monday into a day that I really enjoyed. So that's what I do now. Now, of course, I make that time up throughout the week, but that's kind of how I would look at it and like really scheduling, making your schedule around the schedule you want to have. And that's one of the nice things that you can at least try to do with rideshare or if you're working for yourself or have your own business. Uh, Let's see. PJT says Fair Pilot app works well in the Portland metro for hotspots. Thanks for all you do. I used to be a Silicon Valley engineer. Great comfort with your honest, straight talk. Appreciate that. Yeah, no, Fair Pilot has been a good app, and I really like it. Even in LA, there's like times where I'll drop some. I grew up in LA, and even when I'm driving here in LA, like there's times where I'll drop someone off, and I have like no idea where the hell I am in the city. So that's usually when I open up the Fair Pilot app, and it gives me a little insight. If I need to, move to a mall or move to an area where I might have a better chance of getting a pickup. Dustin now says, let's get to 150 likes, guys. I like Dustin. I'm gonna have to give you a little cut of these super chats. Maybe I'll give you your $21 back. But I appreciate all the hype, Dustin. I really do. Rideshare Confession says, how do you feel about the Apex app for rideshare? Now, to be honest, I don't know that I've heard of the Apex app. So if you want to send me an email later with a little more info on that, I can do that. Sean says, yes, lesbians. Yeah, that's basically what happened in the back of my car on my most craziest rideshare story. Now, I don't tell that story in the book because I think my publisher probably wouldn't have liked that. I think the story in my book is about like this guy who got dared to do like a Chinese fire drill naked, like he stripped into his underwear and ran around the car. So that was pretty weird. That was more weird than anything. But Alan says, are long trips still the best for Uber Eats? Well, I mean, I think it depends on what you're going for. Personally, I haven't done Uber Eats or really food delivery in a long time, so I may not be the best person to ask, but we did hire a new contributor recently who's been covering Uber Eats, Elijah. So stay tuned for his videos, and you can take a look at that. 268 Smooth says, how many hours do you work a week? Right, I mean, right now I'm working on the rideshare guy full-time, and so I would say, well, before my kid, I was probably working anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week, and after I had the kid, now I'm working about 30 to 40 hours a week. And then my second job which is also pretty fun, is watching my son. So that's what I'm doing right now. Dustin says, let's keep those likes and super chats coming. Got to get paid here, get up to 150 likes. Christopher with a $2 super chat says, thank you. I appreciate that. V says, do you think if you rent a car through Lyft and Uber, you can eventually be able to drive in any city that has the platform in America? Like if you live in New York and you rent, could you go to California and drive too? So on Uber, you can only drive within the state that you're registered, but on Lyft, you can actually drive in almost every city and state. Now, I haven't tried it recently, but we interviewed a guy on the podcast. I'm going to pull it up right now, who actually did a road trip across the country a couple of years ago, and that's exactly what he did. He kind of like did a lift in either 49 states or I don't know, something ridiculous, but he like lifted across the country basically, and that was pretty cool. So let me see if I can find that podcast real quick. Let's see. Can't find it right now, but we did record it at some point, so that's an interesting one. And Christopher says this guy has good info, send him some monies. I appreciate that. And Young Nate says, been driving for 3 years. Sean says, do you know anything about the Detroit market? I visited Detroit, but I probably don't know a ton of specifics. But, one thing I have found is obviously, I've only ever driven in Los Angeles and Orange County, and we've got contributors in San Francisco and Minneapolis and LA and all these different cities. But one thing I have found is that a lot of cities, whether they're small, medium, or large, they do have a lot of things in common, right? Like small market driving is different different than big market, but a lot of small to medium markets have sports teams and have bars, obviously, and have the night rush, right? So there's a lot of similarities for sure. Um, Let's see. DE says, haven't heard about the book Uberland. Is there a download version and hard copy? Can you send me the link, please? Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I should leave a link to my book if you guys are interested. And then we did a review of Uberland on the site. And let's see, any other questions out here before I go? Rich says, I got my tickets for the Stuber premiere. Yes, I don't know if you guys saw this movie that's coming out. It's called Stuber. It's with, I forgot the Indian guy's name who's pretty funny. And I don't know if I'll be seeing that in theaters, but I'll definitely watch it at some point. Maybe we'll even do a review of it. That might be kind of fun. Dustin says, who are the 3 thumbs down getting the Smackovich ready? I think there's only 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down now. So maybe someone changed their mind. Fry Guy Zero says, let's see. Fry Guy Zero says, I had a long pickup fee last night on Lyft. It was $1.25 extra to get to the pickup 6 miles away. Then I get there and it's a minimum fare for a 2-stop ride, total of $3.87 for 25 minutes, LA area. Yeah, I think that's the one thing I've found with like Uber's long pickup fee, and I don't remember Lyft having that long pickup fee too, but on Uber's long pickup fee, for example, like they count your long pickup fee against the minimum fare, so you're not actually making extra if it's just a minimum fare, which I think is kind of bullcrap if you ask me. And DE too. We do have, I think I've got one more copy of the Uberland book too. If you want to send me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com, I can hook you up with a copy of that. Otherwise, for everyone else, I'm going to be giving away 5 copies of my book right now in just a few minutes. So let's see. Any other questions before I get off? Let's see. 268 Smooth says Detroit is booming. That's where I work. That sounds great. I think I've heard good things about Detroit, although I know they did have low mileage rates at one point. So, okay. If Papa Bear says, why is the paperback book cheaper than the Kindle? To be honest, I have no idea. I don't really make a lot of money off the books. I think my publisher makes most of the money. I did the book more because I wanted to help educate drivers and put all of my info down into a book. And I do think that's what happened. So V with the $2.99 super chat, I appreciate that. And I think Dustin is right. Let's get ready for the giveaway. So if you have any remaining super chats, feel free to drop them in right now. If you haven't liked the video, definitely do so. We do these YouTube lives each and every single month. And I think Dustin is trying to convince me right now to go live at least every 2 weeks. So I might consider that for sure. DK with a 2150. Nice. Awesome. I appreciate that, DK. That was kind of like a dance, right? Kind of like a dance. I think once I have a kid, or once my kid grows up, I'll know a lot of the other dances. But I guess, like the babies right now, they do like the Baby Shark song. So my son loves that song. And so maybe I'll do that dance next time with him. So 268, we do these live chats each and every single Tuesday, or sorry, not every Tuesday, every month on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So if you guys want to get notified of the next time I go live, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on. Terry Tips says Harry has rhythm. Terry, I do not agree with that. I do not have rhythm. Serge says, Harry, you made more money in half an hour than an Uber driver makes all day. Come on. I don't know. I'm gonna have to add it up, but don't worry. I think I will be giving away a lot of books to make up for it, and appreciate each and every one of you for joining. So enough crap from me. If you guys want to enter the giveaway tonight, I will go ahead and give away 5 copies of my book, The Rideshare Guide. And I think we even have a few copies of Uberland too from Alex Rosenblatt, who's really probably like one of the best researchers and authors out there. Hang here one second. I've got her book right here. I think we've got a few copies of this lying around since they actually sent us a lot more than I was expecting. So if you want to win a copy of that book too, let me know. Just send me an email tonight, harry@therideshareguy.com, subject line YouTube Live, and let me know what you thought about my dance moves. Be honest, and I will go ahead and pick 5 winners for my book. And if you're interested in the Uberland book too, just say something about Uberland and we can try to hook you up with a copy of that. So we're going to be giving out a lot of books tonight, so shoot me an email. Harry at therideshareguy.com, subject line YouTube live. Dustin, I think you've already got a copy of my book, and I might have even signed it for you. But I appreciate you moderating and appreciate all of you guys for joining. So if this was your first time, thank you. If this was your second or third or more, appreciate you coming back. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on. I had a lot of fun tonight, and who knows, I might even be going. Might do a special live before our next monthly one. Appreciate it, everyone, and take care. Don't forget to email me, Harry at therideshareguy.com. Subject line YouTube live. Let me know what you thought about my dance moves for a chance to win a copy of my book. All right, Dustin does like the power. Take care, everyone.